All right, welcome to the Underdog Ecom podcast, where two ecom brand founders are figuring out in real time.
Yeah, we're not here to preach. We're here in the thick of it, making mistakes, testing all sorts of ideas, and really sharing the journey of how we've been growing these brands from day zero. Hopefully you learn a little bit, perhaps come away with some ideas that save you time and money. And so if you're tired of the same glittery D2C advice from those 9-figure gurus, you're here in the right place.
Let's get into it.
Hello. Welcome to Underdog Ecom podcast. We're back, episode 34. And we are going to talk today about the hot topic on everyone's tip of the tongue. AI, more AI. AI. So if you're sick of hearing about AI, feel free to tune us out. But I think there's a lot of really interesting and crazy applications that you can do in the ecom space, specifically we're going to talk about Claude today because that's what we've been diving into the last couple months or so, or weeks, or whatever it is. And it's crazy. Like, I know that everyone says it's crazy, but it is crazy. And there's just unlimited potential. But before we dive into that, Jack, how you doing? How's it going?
I'm doing okay. I'm back. Been traveling a little bit. We've been on a hiatus for a couple of weeks. That's my fault. Yeah, I've done 10 flights in the last 16 days.
Holy cow.
So,
You've done more flights in the last 16 days than I've done in maybe like 5 years. Maybe more.
Yeah.
Wow.
As I get older, like the less I enjoy flying and traveling. I mean, I think I did it a lot for like tennis when I was younger, and yeah, I just don't enjoy it that much. I mean, I enjoy traveling. I mean, I do enjoy traveling in some ways, but like flying specifically, I don't enjoy. But yeah, I basically was out there I probably told you this already, but I was out there for the listeners anyway. I was out there first to see the factory that we work with in Vietnam, and then also to visit a distributor we work with in Korea. And that was really cool. I was just in Seoul for like 3 days, and they took me out for dinner, went to like visit their office and play some tennis with them and stuff. So it was really cool. And then went back to Vietnam, and then actually had a bit of a holiday with my girlfriend's family, because they actually planned a trip to Vietnam like way beforehand as a surprise. So basically like join the two together and then spend a few days. That's what, like, a lot of the internal flights is kind of what racked up the flights number, because we were going from the south of Vietnam to the north of Vietnam, then back to Barcelona where they live, and then back to London where I live. So yeah, but it was good. Just always, as you know, like as a pretty much solo brand operator, like leaving anything for like more than 24 hours feels like thing.
More than 10 minutes.
Yeah, more than 10 minutes. Yeah. So it's stressful. I need to get better at it. I mean, I always wish the business felt like it was safe enough where I could just like drop it for 10 days and I'd know that everything is still chugging along, but it doesn't. So
yeah,
that's how it is.
Most important question we'll ask today: how long is the flight from Barcelona to Vietnam? Is that where you flew from?
Yeah, we flew Barcelona. So I flew to Barcelona from London. Spent the day there, and then went from Barcelona to Doha, and then Doha as a chain to Ho Chi Minh is in the south, and then on the way back we flew up from the north back to Doha. So it's like from Barcelona it's actually a little bit less, but it's something like 12-13 hours, something like that. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. It's a lot of TV or movies or raw log. I don't know.
Stuff. Yeah, I downloaded a ton of stuff.
That's crazy. Wow, interesting. Nice. A lot of time to think too.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. Before I get that, it's like in some ways it's nice because I actually don't, even on flights that have Wi-Fi, I don't connect to the Wi-Fi generally, because I actually like the peace and then just thinking, and being able to kind of think about things. I do a lot of like writing and stuff while on like just like mapping out ideas that are in my head. And there's not really a time that I actually get to do that other than that, because whenever you have Wi-Fi, like that's the thing, is, or like 5G or whatever it is, like you just can't there's no reason to do it. Whereas like when you literally haven't anything else to do it, like you can start to let your mind wander and think about things. It's nice in that way. But yeah, anyway, how are you doing?
Surviving. I think February has been I think I missed the hardships of January this year because I had like a product to go viral, and I don't know, things were like working, so it felt like okay. But I remember Januaries in the past were just a massive struggle bus. And so I'm deep in the realms of like this month feeling like nothing's working and feeling like everything I'm doing is failing. So if that resonates with you out there, ecom people, you're not alone, because it does feel like I'm alone.
Yeah.
Whoa, that don't touch your mic there. That's a huge amount of static.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just been like a super hard month, and it's typical Q1 struggles where it's like, oh, I have a zero cash because I have to pay for all these POs, but things like are overdue and things aren't moving, and so it's been super super tough. I almost wonder like if the product going viral last month hurt me more than it helped. I don't know. Like it led to a lot of revenue, but it was a small priced product, and I need to do some cohort analysis to see if those people are actually buying other things, because I always think like when something goes viral like that, like, oh, it could be a good lead magnet, or like get them into the brand, into the flow, into the funnels. But I have a gut feeling that that hasn't really done much. Like those people aren't coming back for other things, even though there's a lot of overlap, but they wanted that specific thing and they're out, which is kind of crazy. So need to deep dive into that. Been very busy on the dev studio front, like a lot of projects coming in, a lot of work, which is good because it's been a little quiet, which is always kind of tricky, but like a lot of fun stuff happening there. And then been digging into, I feel like the spark of creativity or joy kind of has been like digging into Claude a lot more, and like seeing it's one of those, it's like, it's super trendy. Everyone's talking about it on Twitter land and everything. And it's kind of one of those things that, and I see like, I saw posts this morning or yesterday where someone's like, I stayed up all night, like playing around with this, cause it's just like so fun. And I feel like it doesn't really hit. I was talking to a friend about it a little bit, and like he's in like the financial world and stuff, and like doesn't quite get it. And I feel like for us people in ecom, it specifically is the most interesting because we're pretty DIY. We're pretty like, we're going to go figure out the hard stuff. We're going to like optimize everything because there's like no arbitrage possibility anywhere.
Yeah.
Like you have to optimize like crazy to get anywhere with anything in ecom. And so that type of person that's in this space is going to gravitate towards this fancy new tool. Also, we like fancy tools and shiny objects. But like that new tool that can really optimize things and, has unlimited potential. You can customize it. You can build your own thing. Like people are going to gravitate towards that. And I think in our space, claw bots and Claudes and all the things, Molt bots or whatever, like it's very popular right now in our space. It's very popular in the dev world. Like there's so much just kind of happening that it's been pretty wild. I almost feel like it's to the point you have to be very careful because it can be a distraction. Like I feel like I get pulled away from like, oh, I could build this, I've got this list of 10 things I want to build in it, but that isn't necessarily like what's driving revenue. I need to be careful and focus on like the high ROI gas pedal type levers. But yeah, I'm okay at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that leads us into what we're going to talk about today, which is essentially Claude and like the craziness that's been the last 3 weeks, and how we're using it and our take on it and everything. And yeah, I mean, I do think before we get started, you're right in the sense that like it's very liberating as like it's so liberating to be able to do things that either from a time or skills perspective you just wouldn't have been able to do before. And so, but it's dangerous for that reason as well, because when you can do anything, it's like, how do you make sure you do the right thing? I wouldn't say we're there, like we can do anything, but it is liberating, I think. But yeah, I mean, how should we start this off? Should we maybe start with just like, what, I mean, we've talked a little bit about it, but I think most people are probably aware of why Claude has got so big now, but, and I think it
I think
started with, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say like a quick overview for anyone who's not familiar would probably be helpful. Like there's this thing called artificial intelligence. I'm just kidding. Most people knows about AI at this point. Most people listening to this pod, at least, all 5 people except my mom. And then there's multiple players in the space. So we can talk maybe about our little background using the tools and stuff. So basically, like I've been using ChatGPT probably daily for over a year, probably now, doing everything from like helping with marketing copy, helping with strategy on products, doing a lot of like mock-up type stuff, product related stuff, research stuff, um, generating some images here and there, like testing out those capabilities. A lot of, as a solo founder, like I feel like I kind of use it as like a co-founder type thing, for better or worse. Like that's one reason why I'm gravitating towards Claude, is because I feel like ChatGPT, even though I've strictly told it don't be a yes man, a lot of times it's a yes man. Analyzing offers, like there's so much there that I've been using it for. And so um, the Claude has come onto the scene. I know you kind of like pushed me towards it a couple months ago. Other people have been talking about it and I've heard about it, but I didn't really fully like grasp. I'm not sure, like at the end of the day, like I know that it has more potential in terms of the integrations that I've been using it with. Like I've integrated it with Klaviyo, I've integrated it with Shopify and a few other things using MCPs, which are kind of like APIs for talking between different things. So it's like Claude uses the MCP to talk to Klaviyo. And the other day I ran analytics on my Klaviyo for the last 6 months or whatever, telling me, hey, check all these things, like what's working, what's not working, what can we do better, what can we not do better, whatever, that kind of thing. And so I think I switched to Claude for most things. I think GPT is still better at doing probably product type research. I'm running a lot of these tasks simultaneously in both to see what it's doing. Everyone says that Claude's better at writing. I tend to agree. I think Claude sounds more human. I feel like the interface itself just feels more friendly, kind of. GPT kind of feels like a robot and it's going to take over the world and it's kind of sinister and evil at the end of the day. That's what I feel about it. Um, I kind of like the Claude constraints. Like I hit the limit all the time on Claude with the $20 plan. And that almost feels to me like it sort of feels like I'm getting the most potential out of it because it's not unlimited. It's sort of this counterintuitive. I'm sure there's like a behavioral economics term for it, but because it's limited in scope in terms of how much I can use it, it feels like I can go to the maximum more than GPT, which I can just go forever and ever and ever and never hit that wall. I still think GPT is better for image creation and like rendering items or rendering mockups. I use it a lot for mockups or like, hey, mock this together for this ad concept or something like that. But I do love using Claude for the biggest, I think the biggest feature that sets it apart is this Claude code thing, which is probably not called the best word. Like you're basically, it has deep integration with your local file system. And so we've talked about this, but it's like the idea is you can set it up for a certain project and you can dump markdown files or like plain text files into the Claude code little instance. And it can access those in terms of like being memory or knowing about the product, for example, knowing about the brand. And it has all that context there, which is super, super helpful. And then you can have it do a ton of automation stuff and like create scripts and do things and access other things via MCPs. And they have the non-dev version called Cloud Cowork, which is basically the same thing, but not as powerful from what I understand. I know there's a million videos that break this down on YouTube, so feel free to watch those because they probably will break it down better than I. But those are the distinctions, and it's like useful to have all three of them. There's Claude Chat, which is just the common text-based interface. Not as powerful. You have to go back and forth quite a bit. I feel like Claude Code, there's a plan mode too, but with Claude Code, you're kind of like, hey, let's do this thing, let's analyze this thing, let's build this thing, and it can do it. And it's like that's what people are like really jazzed about, is like building your own kind of one-off apps for whatever use case. That was a lot. I think I covered the initial question, and I feel like I went way deeper into the weeds than I initially said. Let's cover the high level, and then I went way down deep.
No, but I think you took it in the right direction, because I think if we just go into like quickly, like you said, like Claude Code versus Cowork. I mean, I myself, I probably stopped using ChatGPT in like September, October time. I was using it a lot, and I had this kind of feeling like I had all the stuff in there, and I kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of the context was getting missed anyway because of the context window not actually being that big. So I ended up moving to Gemini just for a lot of stuff, like just general chat, like I'd just have like gems for different stuff, and then just using that for lots of different, like almost like the way you would search Google, I use for Gemini, just like literally getting answers quickly to stuff. And I started to use Claude maybe like December, a little bit, just because I preferred it, in terms of like I just preferred the interface of it, not because it was actually a better output. But then, yeah, I think Claude code, I think the thing about Claude Code is that it's overwhelming for most people because it's like basically within your terminal, so to speak. And so like most people don't want to touch that, and including myself, find it hard to do that sort of stuff. And I've got forced myself to kind of learn it and stuff over time. Not to say that I'm that good at it or anything, but you kind of it is beyond what most people want to get involved with. And I think the Claude desktop app is pretty good in the sense that it gives you a good chunk of that. You can access all the files, like you said, with Claude in terms of, and I think that is the biggest thing is like locally, this idea of locally having stuff on your computer that is beneficial to your brand, that can be about how you write copy, so you can upload skills. So skills in Claude are really beneficial. I think I'm starting to get into that in terms of like, how, your tone of voice, you can have a skill on like writing landing pages, skill on ad copy, and then you can then ask Claude to update that skill. So when it gives you information as you go along, so if you say like come up with 5 different ad hooks based on whatever, or 5 new primary texts for these new ads I'm launching, it might be that it's average what it gives you the first time round, but then as you iterate through it, you can then say, right, now write that back to the skill so that next time it knows that this is the type of thing I'm looking for, which is really cool. And I think that's like the biggest thing that I like about it is that being able to rewrite those kind of skills you go along and having those locally, so that you can kind of build it as you go and you have that context. It's not just like whatever the chat remembers. I think that's like the biggest thing from a marketing perspective, in my point of view. And I see the other thing is as the MCPs, like you said. I mean that I assume that. I haven't been on ChatGPT for a while, but I assume that's coming or has already to some extent come to ChatGPT. But those are huge. I think like there's MCP connectors that are just like popping up all over the place in terms of, like Klaviyo was recent. I think it was only like in the last week or two that they launched theirs, and that was game changing because it's actually a nightmare analyzing emails within Klaviyo, like going back into campaigns and like trying to find out the reports in Klaviyo. I find are just like impossible to read half the time. And then whereas like being able to just pull that data into AI is amazing. We both use Comslayer for customer service, I believe. I was, yeah. So that's really cool. Like that's been game changing. I did a post about this the other day, but I did like follow the instructions in terms of getting all the knowledge docs and basically the way you can like use the MCP they have with this customer service. With this customer service app Comslayer, you can take all your last conversations for a certain amount of days and build out knowledge bases and also responses to those questions for the AI to respond. And I've had like a couple of times now where based on those things, it's been able to answer questions that I would have had to have done otherwise, like even like draft orders and things, and it's pretty amazing. So yeah, I think the MCP is in general for AI like a big thing. Like I'm really looking forward to like Shopify bringing out theirs at some point because that will be game changing. Like being able to just like chat within Claude and pull up, your last 30-day sales or return rates or whatever it is. I mean, would be huge, I think.
Yeah, I saw the director of product or something like that on Twitter from Shopify said that they're working on direct Claude integration. I have Claude connected to my Shopify via, I think, an unofficial MCP because I can do that right now. And I think what's for people that haven't done this, like what's so powerful about this is like you can prompt in a text-based interface and say like, yeah, what are the last 30 days of sales in Shopify? Or like what are what products are selling, top 10 products are selling best over the last 30, 60, 90 days, whatever it is. And so things that would add up over time, like little tasks here and there, like things you'd like give to a VA, for example. I think a lot of this stuff can be automated more. And it's like you can build what's really crazy is you can take that and then you can go to the next level where it's like, let's build an email performance dashboard like with a backend in Google Sheets or Airtable or something like that, and then have Klaviyo like run those numbers and then drop them in there. And so like because I know I definitely don't plan out or do high level strategies as much as I should for my brand. I feel like I'm always playing catch up and trying to like put out fires. But I think, and I also haven't really tracked like my historical sales and my offers very well. Like what's doing better? Is it a BOGO or is it a straight, dollar percentage off or something like that? And so having an interface where I can go in and like track all these things and save it into a thing, it feels like it's kind of like a VA on steroids in a lot of ways. And I know that there's people that are like, it's funny because we're definitely in like a niche in the ecom world. And there's definitely people that are like super AI focused in the niche of the ecom world. And they're like, I built out an influencer content creator seeding dashboard the other day and blah, blah, and all these things. And you and I have talked about this a little bit off air, where it's like, yes, you can pretty much build anything you want, but I think I'm strongly in the camp of like, at the end of the day, are you actually saving time? Because it's like,
Yeah.
then you have to worry about. And Carrie actually tweeted this from CompSlayer the other day, and it was a good tweet where he was basically like, software is not building out a dashboard using Claude Code. That's pretty easy to do. That's the 1% of the iceberg, and then there's all these other things that come into it.
Yeah.
So it is like building with caution, I think, and building with a little bit of restraint and thinking about like, oh, is this actually going to save time? Like, should I rebuild CompSlayer in Claude Code? No, definitely not.
Yeah.
um,
That's a pretty good point.
but like tracking things, dashboarding of things, and having the analytics at your fingertips. Like I said, like I ran that report in Klaviyo. It generated like a full, I don't know, 10-page report or something like that. And what's helpful is that context. Then I can save that into the project for my ecom brand. And then it knows like, oh, here's the things that it has worked before, and refer to that context. And I think that's what's takes to the next level, is like doing the analysis, but then also taking that context and like saving it. Watch your mic, Jack.
Sorry.
Stay away from that mic.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, it probably comes across kind of loud to me. It probably will to listeners, but taking that context and like stepping to the next level in terms of strategy and analysis. And I feel like this is what bigger brands, when you have a director of product, or you have a director of e-commerce, for example, like they're doing a lot of these things and they have people running the stuff for them, and then they're taking it on the high level. And now we're kind of like, the benchmark is kind of like risen, the water in the pond is kind of risen. So we have this ability to set these things and get this access to this analysis, provided that it's accurate. There's definitely times that AI hallucinates, and definitely times that it like gets numbers wrong. I actually dumped it all of my bank statements for last year and was like, hey, how much do I owe to put on my 1099 for my contractor? Figure that out, because it wasn't tracked properly in the systems that I was using, because I only used the system for half the year that I was using to track it. And it ran the numbers and it got them wrong the first time. Well, so this is interesting. I used Claude Chat the first time to analyze all the bank statement PDFs. And then I was like, that's not the best way to do this. I went over to Claude Code, got the CSVs. So it's straight like Python that it's running, doing data analysis and running through all the numbers and checking them. And then did that twice in Claude Code via Python scripts that it wrote. And then it got me the right number. So you kind of got to be careful sometimes, especially with numbers and money, but it's still like, man, the potential is just like crazy. I'm curious, like use cases, what specifically are you thinking about using it for, like going forward, just kind of as examples for people to think about?
Yeah. So I've been building this out quite a bit, so it's not like fully there, but I've got what I've done is I've got like a local file on my computer for Cancha, and then like marketing, and then email versus ads versus finance. And in finance, I'll have like different files in there, like our P&L from 2025. It's like quite a recent P&L, so I can pull that data, and it'll, like you said, it will run the Python, it'll analyze the P&L through the CSV, which is really useful. I've used that a lot in understanding like where money's going, how I can improve that this year. Made a ton of interesting insights in terms of like ad spend, and like for example, I think I mentioned this to you, but I don't mind mentioning on air. But like with some of our ad spend, I was looking at like in terms of, I saw an interesting post about with contribution margin. There's actually like a baseline where you need to be able to cover your fixed costs before that contribution margin is actually having any real effect. And so, but then you have to take into your variable costs as well, things like Facebook ads and stuff like that. So it's like, if you cut away a lot of that ad spend, the contribution margin threshold then lowers that much more, because you don't have to hit that variable cost to break even, sort of, so to speak. So it's like this interesting analysis about looking back at our P&L. I can like plug that in, then look at our P&L and be like, okay, well, actually, what do I need to, if I reduce ad spend by this much, well, how much do I still need to be able to make top line revenue? So you kind of like figure different things out on the finance side. It doesn't mean you go down that way, but like there's interesting things you can look into on the finance side of things, which would take in a spreadsheet on your own forever. I mean, forever to work out. So that's been a big one for me, the finance side. and just having Claude be able to like run Python and like you can like with cash flow, like building out cash flow forecasts. That's the next thing actually. I haven't done that, but like cash flow forecasts are hard to do, and I wouldn't like trust it 100% by AI, but having like a baseline to work from would be huge, because I think that's something I don't do well enough, is like track cash flow. So yeah, the finance side. I think on the email side, using MCP for like Klaviyo, and then pulling through. Like been trying to add all of our past email copy as like MD files, and then have that to be able to pull on, so that Claude can then look at the way we've written all our email copy at the past, and then like so you can start to build it out, like having all that. And then actually, you may not like this, but I mean, with like I've got our Shopify theme downloaded locally on as well, so that if I want to build out like not that I would like do anything major, because I just feel like I wouldn't do that. I would still want to get a developer or something involved. But if it's like I want to add like a certain like product block or something, like a snippet, which I know is not going to be like too much of a change, it having that context of how the whole theme is structured is like an absolute game changer. Because before, if you went to ChatGPT and said, I'm trying to build out this this section or this snippet, whatever it is, and it has no idea how your theme is coded. Like it can bet, it has like Shopify dev, documentation to work from and stuff like that. But like Claude has the MCP for Shopify dev. It has your theme downloaded on. I mean, it's like has literally everything, and it's like incredible what it can do. And so that's pretty amazing. And like if you're pushing anything to GitHub as well, it can do it all from there. Yeah, I think like just being able to do the basics there has been really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's definitely pretty crazy, all the potential. I felt like there's certain apps that I kind of want to build in Claude, and I think it would help my operate. Like I feel like there's a lot of areas that I struggle with. It's the financials, it's the cash flow, it's inventory management, um, sort of marketing. At the end of the day, I like list out things I'm not very good at. And I'm like, wait a second, what am I good at? No. But yeah, imposter syndrome. It's real, folks. Um, and so it's like I had these ideas where it's like, okay, content creator seeding, like build out sort of a tool for that. Although at the end of the day, like that's not really that important. I feel like that's a low priority because I can pretty much do that in a spreadsheet or Airtable already. And so I feel like the ROI to build that out in Claude Code is not really, it's like not there. It's like that's one of those examples of like you're just spinning your wheels to spin your wheels. Like if you have unlimited time, sure, I have zero capacity for anything that's like takes up more time than it should be worth. But the other thing that I do want to do is basically create like a backend in Airtable or Google Sheets that Claude Code can access, or Claude can access and analyze things. But that database will be of the different offers. I mentioned this earlier, offers or sales that I've ran, because I don't really monitor any of my marketing performance campaigns where it's like, here was the President's Sale weekend, here was the Black Friday sale. I've been so poor about that. And so I want to like capture all that context. So like document it all out and then have it saved in this backend. And then Claude, I can just be like, here's all the data from this last sale, go update it. And then also B, like what's been the best performing type offer in the last 6 to 12 months? Like what should we do? Was that profitable? Was that sale profitable or not? That's super helpful. And inventory management, I think, is another. It's like, it's not necessarily the management inventory. It's more analysis around what's doing well and what's should be kept and what should be killed, and doing like ABC product analysis. And because I think I get to, without knowing data, like I make decisions that aren't the best in terms of keeping products. And with apparel, it's tricky because I've got a million different SKUs and a million different types of products. Things are seasonal. So there's like so many different elements that play into the equation, variables. And so having something where it's like, oh no, here's the drop date, here's the sell-through rate, like that's a great product, keep it or don't. Yeah. That would be helpful. And then the cash flow, like figuring out how to manage the cash flow better, because that's been super hard. And like having the different debt instruments tracked out and having the different accounts tracked out and knowing what's coming and what's not coming. I know that there's a lot of folks that talk about the 13-week cash flow statement, I think it's called. I've done that here and there. It was so painful that I, sad to admit, gave up on it, but I should probably revisit that. And I feel like if I build it in a way that is fun and engaging to me, and like maybe it's in Claude Code, then and it's like a cool dashboard thing, then that would be something that I would probably keep up with a lot more than like a spreadsheet that kind of makes my eyes bleed.
Yeah.
Like the backend could be that, but maybe the dashboard's something prettier in Claude Code.
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to be said for when you build something yourself, it's more fun, right? It's more fun doing it, but it's also more fun to use it then because you built it and then you can like make it easier for yourself and stuff as you go along. I think the whatever it is, 13-week cash flow, whatever it is, would be really cool, especially now that it's actually, I don't know if you know, there's actually a Mercury MCP as well, which is slightly like kind of concerning to connect your bank account to Claude,
I know.
but like I think that would be so cool in terms of like actually raw bank data, like building a cash flow forecast, and even combining that to get like more accuracy on the Shopify side and stuff like that. Like like that would be really cool. Like, and then maybe look at your P&L from last year to kind of cross-reference it in terms of like what your peak months are and stuff like that. I mean, there's just so many cool stuff you can do, and building apps is definitely fun as well. I think a lot of apps are coming out with MCP as well, like with finance and things like that. So it's gonna be really cool. The one thing I don't know if you've managed this is what I haven't managed is on the automation side of things, and I don't know if that's because it just simply isn't possible right now, or whether because it just takes more effort and we haven't got there yet. But I would love, for example, for example, for me to get like a Slack message on like every other morning or every morning, whatever, just reminding me like how our Shopify or like not necessarily Shopify sales, but like more like how our ad performance is doing. Or I don't, I there isn't there's some third party ones that connect into Meta, but like just different stuff like that. Or like if you have an inventory dashboard, like reminding you like weekly what your position is, or like in terms of inventory and when you're going to run out of stock and lots of stuff. And I think there's lots of different stuff like Zapier, NA10, all that sort of stuff. But I feel like they're quite difficult at the moment because what they tend to do is at least from my understanding anyway, is they tend to like prompt the like Claude or something within, so that they'll like pull the data and they'll like have a custom prompt they send. But it's not the same as like it learning on that data the same way that like if you go in and you prompt it, you say like, how's my cash flow doing today, for example, and you're in the same context of the conversation from before, it's comparing the last conversation, this conversation, what the data was yesterday to today. Whereas if you do it through like a automation like Zapier, it's like a single prompt on its own. It's almost like created a new chat on its own for that particular thing, which is not the same. So I would love there to be more automation and more like building stuff there. And maybe it's possible. I don't know, but I think is what kind of missing, especially on some of these apps, is like being able to just be like get high level information often from these different things, so that you're not constantly going and remembering to kind of ask the question or to analyze that yourself.
Yeah, I think I'm not totally sure because I haven't like stepped into every realm of Claude and stuff like that, but I think that is more of the realm of N8N, and it's like basically at this point it's more of a passive thing where it sits in the background and runs, and maybe there's a way to trigger an app in Claude Code to run every morning at 9 a.m. to send you that Slack message. And you're right, like up until now, the context has been for that type of information has been like, hey, send a Slack message from Triple Whale or something like that, or Lifetimely or something that sends the data. But like to take it to the next level, oh, this would be interesting. I wonder if you could have it send that via email to something and then trigger Claude Code to like analyze it based on the context of the prior weeks or prior days. And then it's like you get the Slack message from Triple Whale or something with the data, and then that like triggers Claude Code to like look at it and analyze it and then give you an analysis based on it. Cause it is like up until now, it's been all here's the data dump, here's the information. The analysis part has been limiting. And I'm sure actually, Triple Whale and all these other analytical platforms are looking at this is the next step where they might even already have it where it's like, along with our daily report, you can have the daily analysis. But I'm sure that's not on the free tier, and all of these different third-party SaaSes cost money, as we've talked about before.
Yeah.
And so they're not necessarily what we're looking at. It's kind of like we're DIYing it a little bit and trying to figure that out. But that's a very curious question. One thing that I found really helpful is I did this for this podcast, actually. I was like, hey, Claude, here's our processes for the podcast. How can we use you to make this faster and better? I don't know if you saw that message. I dumped it into Basecamp, but
I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's just like, here's all the things that I can help with. And so that's one thing where it's like, for this type of question, you can be like, hey, how can we solve this? How can we make it more reactive and prompt me with the analysis rather than like me prompting you for the analysis? And there might be ways to do it, to set up triggers to do that. I just don't know. But I like the idea a lot. That's really interesting.
I
Um,
think that it's got to be like on Anthropic's list. It has to be. I feel like that's the next thing, because they've also got like I forgot what it's called now, as agent teams, where like they do like concurrent processes, or like, which is pretty amazing. But I think it's got to be coming soon, where there's like this automation side of things, at least scheduling, and like having things analyze an existing data set. Because if you had something, even if you like said, if you create some Google sheet with like the raw data, being able to then go and reanalyze that at 9 a.m. every morning would be huge.
yeah, I think one thing that's tricky is like, that would probably have to run within a virtual server or on a server, not on a virtual machine or something, like, because it's so localized right now. Like, obviously that's a third party database in Google Sheets, but I think like Claude isn't doing things with your computer turned off kind of thing. It's like that has to be run somewhere else. And I think
Yeah.
that's sort of the blocker there, which might be more, I'm sure it's more expensive to do, but
Yeah. Well, one thing actually on that is that I've figured, I don't know if this is 100% the right way, but what I've actually done is some of the files, because I wanted to be able to make it so that other people could access the files, like someone like a team member or something can access the same file, for example, like a skill that we're creating. It doesn't make sense for only me to be able to access that email copywriting skill, for example. So what I did is got Google Drive for desktop, because it's changed. I never haven't used that for a long time, but it's changed a lot in the sense that you can have only certain files can sync back and forth. So if you create like a shared drive, you can have all of the Claude folder structure within there. It's local on your computer, but if you change on your computer, it updates to Google Drive, and then they can download it. And so basically, like, the file structure is changing between the two, but like you can also have it locally at the same time, which is pretty cool.
sorry, you're triggering like the developer means like, that's GitHub, that's GitHub, that's Git. I don't, like you mentioned GitHub earlier. If you're familiar with GitHub, that would be perfect for basically maintaining markdown files, because then it's like you can set up a repo, have the markdown files saved in it. When you log in, just like go check the remote branch basically to see if there's any changes in the GitHub repo, and then pull them down if there are. And then you can have like you can have the history of who changed what. Obviously, there's training involved for non-developers and that sort of thing, but I feel like using Git is definitely what I'm going to try and do to be sort of that repository for the skills, or repository for the data. Like, that could be your data warehouse. Like, it could be all these CSV files, all these markdown files stored on your GitHub. Whoa, mind blowing right here.
Yeah, someone told me about GitHub for that, and I thought I was planning it. But what I didn't know, and you probably know this better than me, is can you store like other files on GitHub? And can it be like, for example, like CSV or like Excel files or stuff like that? Can you store that as well? And is it readable? Or is it just literally like plain text type stuff?
You can store anything. There might be limits to the free tier in terms of like, you can store movies and videos and stuff, but it will take a long time to upload and download. And there's probably limitations around the free tier for files that are bigger in size. But no, you can totally store any type of file that you want. There might be some limitations, but you can totally store CSVs or text files, or like Markdown, of course, code files. Like, I can't think of a limitation off the top of my head. Interesting. Well, we know what we're doing after this
I
podcast.
know this is the problem, right? It's that this stuff, there's no end to the rabbit hole, right? You just
There's no limit. It's unlimited potential. It's crazy. You mentioned like there's sort of a limit earlier. No, there's no limit. Look, you can do whatever you want almost. That's what's crazy about this.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the only limit is time. That's what it comes down to, right? The
yep.
limit is time. And that's what's so interesting about like the time we're living, like the world we're living in right now. Is like, it's what do you spend your time on? Because there is infinite possibilities. I mean, even if you think about the opportunities on like from a marketing perspective, or like how we grow our brands, you could spend all your time diving into like the absolute nuances of running ads versus you could spend all your time on organic content versus you could spend all time on being like an absolute expert influencers. There's just so many things. And of course, nobody does everything extreme. I mean, no one at our size anyway does everything extremely well. So it's really a difficult choice. I think that's kind of like almost the hardest thing like you and I and other brand owners have to deal with right now is making the right choices of what to spend your time on.
That's super, 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 super true. What's terribly ironic about using this AI to improve our efficiencies and and get rid of busy work is that like we're replacing busy work with just more efficient busy work. It's like, oh, I could build a Claude an app in Claude using a database to analyze all my different offers. And it's like, well, no, that's kind of busy work to like replace other busy, or I could track all these other things and build this thing and this thing. And it's like, yes, it will be more efficient to do that. You'll build that in a couple hours or whatever it is. And that's great. But it's at the end of the day, kind of just like more work to make other work more efficient. It's ironic.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's tough. I think we are most susceptible to this because we decide what to do with our time. If you're working for somebody else, you're on their watch, so it's not quite. So you're almost shielded a little bit from it. Maybe the downside was you don't learn this. I feel like the amount I've learned about AI just over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I would never expected it. And I'm sure it's less than 1% of what some people are learning out there. But if the problem is when you don't have, I mean, in some ways, when you don't have choice over your own time, you just can't pick this stuff up. You're always left behind slightly. Whereas I do feel like we have the opportunity to be quite fairly up to date with it comparing to the rest of the world. At the same time, it can be a waste of time as well.
Yeah, it's definitely, you have to be hypercritical of the own time. But you're right, like we're on the cutting edge. We're in a bubble, inside a bubble. Like, no one, I could ask my friend what the different models are in Claude, and he would be like, "What's Claude?"
Yeah.
You mean you don't know about Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 4.6? Like, what's going on? You don't know that Opus is 4.5 more efficient? And I mean, I made that up. It's crazy.
But it is so exciting though. Like, I mean, like I have not been that excited about AI generally. I mean, like it's always like being interesting, but like the last month I've been like, wow, this is actually like, it's almost like a video game. Like you just want to sit down and start doing stuff. Yeah,
it's so true.
I've not felt like that about a technology for a long, long time. So it's really cool.
I know. It's like how it's so funny. Like how nerdy is this statement? I'm really excited to sit down and build out a Claude workflow and skills to optimize the creation of our podcast, analyze a transcript, write a title, come up with topics based on historical episodes of context that we've talked about, create a thumbnail, and then write the title and post it on all the different platforms. I'm so excited to build that. I can't wait. Like, and I am excited to build that. Sounds like I'm not, but it's like that is just, it's weird. What a weird world we're living in right now.
Really, really wonderful about that. Yeah.
Revenge of the Nerds. Cool. We are probably over time. Do you have anything else? Any closing thoughts about Claude, AI?
No, just
the world.
We'll look out there, and we'll see where it takes us. We'll see. We need to do like, we'll have to see like in 6 months' time where we are, because it's like I have no idea what's going to be how things are going to progress.
That's the craziest. It's like that's the craziest part about the AI and scariest part is the exponential growth that we've seen and how things have changed in the last couple of weeks. And it's like, cell phones went from flip phones to smartphones in like 5 years or whatever it was. And we're seeing larger technology progression than that in the span of weeks. And that's like, honestly kind of terrifying. And it's like, I don't, thinking about my kids in 20 years, like, holy cow, I don't even want to think about that. That's crazy what they're going to be experiencing in like 10 years in high school and stuff. Like, wow, 10 years in high school. That's terrifying too. Okay, we're getting old. But yeah, it's been super wild. But cool. Yeah, let us know, folks, what you're using, which platform you're using. Let us know in the comments what you're using it for. What are you building in Claude? Very, very curious. I think also we didn't mention, like, there's not one good AI tool for everything. I think you can use a bunch of the best people are using different things for different things. And And that's something we didn't even get into. It's like, we could probably have a whole episode about like optimizing your AI stack or something like that. Use this for this and this for that. And it's wild. It's a wild world. Unlimited world. But thanks for hanging. Give us those 5 stars. We appreciate it. Thanks, y'all.